I am Bridget Lake, president of the Oviedo Winter Springs Regional Chamber of Commerce, and we are here with Steve Henderson, running for the 18th Circuit Court Judge Group 18, serving both Seminole and Brevard County. Our premier virtual Eastside Regional Hob Nob is presented by Lucas Lane Group, an Oviedo-based family-run business with interest throughout Central Florida. And our sponsor, Duke Energy, our radio sponsor, 96.5 WDBO, and our website sponsor, Palm Tree Tech Center. Now, before we get into our conversation, let's watch a quick commercial from Duke Energy.
Across Florida, we're listening to customers like you, and we're working hard to build the brighter energy future you and your family deserve. That's why we're making smart investments in the grid to improve reliability and prevent outages, to use more clean, renewable energy like solar, and to give you better control over your energy use today and in the years ahead. We're Duke Energy, and we're building a smarter energy future for you.
And we are back with Steve Henderson, running for 18th Circuit Court Judge, Group 18, serving both Seminole and Brevard County. Stephen, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very good. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much for joining us. Before we start, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I actually grew up on the Space Coast. My dad worked for the Space Center. He was an engineer. And actually, Cocoa Beach was my hometown. When I was 11 years old, my dad got a job assigned to Japan, supposed to be for 2 years, working on the Japanese commercial space program. That turned into almost 7 years. So I actually graduated from high school in Japan, from an international high school. Gave me a very unique perspective of the world. We returned back to my hometown of Cocoa Beach. I ended up going to UCLA, where I got a degree in economics. And that led me into a career of international trade, primarily doing business overseas in Japan, marketing US products overseas and whatnot. That landed me in Seattle. In Seattle, I attended the Seattle University School of Law, where I graduated with honors. I immediately sat for and passed the Washington State Bar exam, moved back to Florida, sat for and took the Florida Bar exam, and passed that back to back. I started my legal career here back in my hometown of Brevard County. And I can go more into that later if you have some questions. I know you have questions about my legal experience, so I'll talk about that later. I am married. We have 5 children, from 11 to the age of 22, and a chocolate lab. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
So you're a dog person, not a cat person.
Not a cat person. Well, let me rephrase that. I'm not against cats. I am a dog person. I've always had dogs. I've always had labs, partial to labs. Growing up in Cocoa Beach and, surfing and swimming and all that, I love bringing my labs and having them swim in the lake or, where there's not any gators, of course, but they love swimming in our pool. So we get in there with them, my children obviously are the most important thing, but our labs are just, they're like our kids too. They're great.
So you grew up all over the world, it sounds like.
I spent, when people say, where are you from? I always say, Cocoa Beach, because that's, I consider that my hometown. But where I am now, there was a strange path. And so I have lived, I lived here on the Space Coast, then lived in Japan for about 6-7 years. Los Angeles while I was at UCLA, and then Seattle while I was working in international trade, where I attended law school in the evening, and then returned back to the Space Coast. So I've traveled a lot, but as far as like living in certain places, it's been the areas I just mentioned.
Now, your kids, you have 5 children. Have they lived in all those different places also?
No, my kids have lived in Brevard and Seattle. So I had my first 2 children were born while I was in Seattle, and I was working full time traveling to Japan, marketing US products overseas, raising a family, and going to law school. So it was quite a challenge. So I didn't take the traditional route of high school, undergrad, right to law school. I worked about six years in the real world, if you will, doing different things before I went to law school. So that kind of gives me a different perspective of things, particularly in how I practice law and how I interact with people and my clients. But I think I answered your question. I forgot the first part of the question.
Yeah.
Probably went on there. I apologize.
Well, let me ask you this. You were in Japan for quite a while. What is one of the things that you really miss about Japan? What was one of those moments or memories that, you know, when you go back there, or if you go back there the next time you go, that experience that you want to go back to?
Well, obviously, you know, growing up as a teenager there is much different than growing up in a country if you're an adult. So you kind of get a different perspective of the country. There's a lot of things I love about Japan, a lot of things that I miss. Obviously, I love Japanese food, things like that. There's no particular places I would need to go back to because I've been there. But what I take from that experience primarily is, you know, when you live overseas, particularly as a child, growing up, it gives you a very different view of the United States, our judicial system, a very objective perspective. So you're getting this perspective of how Japan looks at the United States, how other countries look at the United States, particularly our judicial system, our government. So I miss that perspective from living overseas and seeing that again. But it has given me that experience to be able to recognize how, I hate to say it, our judicial system, it's not perfect, but it is the best in the world. You know, our jury system and whatnot, if you compare it to the other countries, we do have the best possible judicial system in the world, in my opinion.
So you brought up a very good point, is that you have this perspective of both other, you know, Japan that you've been in and their judicial system and the United States. How do you think that that will benefit you in the race that you're running for, beyond what you've mentioned?
Right. I think it is Brevard. Orange County is different than Brevard. Brevard is getting more diverse. You know, Orange County has been diverse for quite some time. So having lived overseas for so long, as the Brevard County and Seminole County get more diverse, people moving in from other countries, I think having a respect and understanding of those cultures, those litigants may appear before you as a judge. So at least recognizing that, hey, this person is from this particular country or this particular country, they have a different perception of how we do things. So I think a judge that has that experience is going to be able to better understand some of the things that they're talking about. So from that perspective, I think that that experience would make me, you know, a better judge, just having that experience from living overseas. But I could go on and on. I don't want to, I know we only got a short period of time, so I want to make sure you get all your questions in.
Well, I do have one last question. What's been the single most difficult case of your career so far?
Well, I've handled thousands of cases. Let me preface this with my legal career. I started out as an assistant public defender here in Brevard County for the 18th Judicial Circuit. I worked there for nearly 7 years. I tried everything from DUI cases to murder cases. I went into private practice in 2010 and expanded my practice into family law, dependency, delinquency, juvenile, and civil. I kind of classify myself as a trial attorney or litigator. So I've done at least 50 plus jury trials to verdict. I'm not counting the ones that end mistrial or dismissed halfway. So I can't really answer that question without talking about all that kind of experience. I've handled so many cases in so many different areas of law. It's hard for me to pick one particular case. I could probably give you some examples. I've had some innocent clients wrongfully accused over the years, and getting them going to jury trial, having an acquittal, that is a great feeling. Obviously, not everybody's innocent, but occasionally mistakes are made and innocent people are arrested and prosecuted. It does happen, and I'm the only person as that attorney that's going to stand up for that person in court and defend them. And those are the hardest cases actually to try as an attorney, because you know your client's innocent. Some of other types of cases I really enjoy is juvenile cases, because I like to represent juveniles. That's delinquency, where they get in trouble. And I try to steer them on the right path, try to help them. That's the idea of delinquency court. So I think I've changed a lot of kids' lives over the years. They tend to listen to someone who's not their parent, and is willing to just listen to them and tell them how it really is out there. And I can tell them from my experience of who I've dealt with, the cases I've handled, this is where you're headed. And I'm happy to say that a lot of them have followed my advice over the years. Not all of them, of course, but I do keep in touch with some of them. And they're in college type of thing, and it makes me really happy, you know. And we've done adoptions as well, which is one of, you know, the greatest things is when you can take a child and place that child in a very loving home, with loving parents. That's the type of cases I absolutely love handling.
Well, that is incredible. Thank you so much. Before we wrap this up, I do want to ask you, is there anything else that you want to add that we didn't touch on?
No, I think we pretty much touched on everything. I think, you know, for me, it's, you know, one of the reasons I'm running for circuit judge is I want to get back into public service, and the 18th Judicial Circuit deserves good judges. We deserve experienced judges, judges with a lot of legal experience, but also, you know, life experiences. I am not taking a judge's seat. It's an open seat, so I'm not. No one's losing their job. But other than that, I think I pretty much covered everything, and I appreciate the time. Really do.
Well, thank you so much. That is Stephen Henderson running for 18th Circuit Court Judge, Group 18, serving both Seminole and Brevard County. He is one of our candidates at the Eastside Regional Hob Nob. That will be on June 30th, starting at 5:30 p.m. And don't forget to check out ESRHobnob.com, as we are going to be having our one-on-one interviews there, along with our Facebook and LinkedIn page. EastsideRegionalHobnob.com. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Bridget. Appreciate it. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.